The campaign starts with the mission FNG, standing for Friendly New Guy, in Creedon Hill, UK. You start off looking through the eyes of the new guy, John Soap McTavish, who is preparing to meet the Bravo team and their leader, Captain Price. Soap then undergoes a close-quarter combat test mimicking an upcoming mission for the unit to determine if he's capable of joining the team. The game automatically suggests a difficulty based on how you perform. It's time for the mission Bravo team was training for. We start off sitting in a helicopter facing Captain Price as we approach a ship in the Bering Strait. After rappelling to the ship's deck, the team quickly and silently eliminates enemy forces before proceeding across the deck and into the cargo hold of the ship in search of a nuclear device. After opening the shipping crate containing the device, the team takes the ship's manifest, which reveals Khalid al-Assad to be the owner of the bomb. As the team attempts to make their way back to the ship's deck, an explosion happens on board, causing the ship to begin to sink. It's now a race against time as you fight your way topside to escape from the capsizing ship. Soap barely manages to escape before the ship sinks completely by making a leap of faith to the nearby helicopter and being pulled up by Captain Price. In the coup, you take limited control of the Saudi Arabian president Yasser al-Fulani as he is escorted into the backseat of a car and taken to be publicly executed by Khalid al-Assad, who seems to not be in complete control when Imran Zahif points a gun at him before handing it to him to assassinate the Saudi president. Now the next day we're back with Bravo team where Soap, Gaz, and Captain Price are in the Arabian Peninsula and on a mission to save a Russian informant that provided them with the intel on the cargo ship named Nikolai. The team clears a few small buildings before rendezvousing with Sergeant Kamarov and the Russian loyalist. Sergeant Kamarov and Captain Price have different ideas about this mission. Price just wants to rescue Nikolai, whereas Kamarov has the goal of eliminating a squad of ultranationalists who have taken over a local village. Price and his team assist Kamarov in freeing the village, but he starts asking for more when Gaz gets tired of it and threatens him to give up Nikolai's location. The team then makes their way to the house where Nikolai is being held and free him. Then they make their way to the nearby extraction point and head for a German safe house. After the execution of the Saudi president, the United States deploys Marines into the area to search for and eliminate al-Assad. Playing as Sergeant Paul Jackson, we push through the small town on our way to the first suspected location of al-Assad, only to discover he isn't there. We then continue onto a TV station where al-Assad is believed to be broadcasting propaganda from, only to run into another dead end. Continuing in the boots of Sergeant Jackson, we have new orders to proceed to and defend a tank that is no longer operational. Upon reaching the tank, the squad now has to fight off waves of enemy forces until engineers are able to repair the tank. Picking back up where the mission Blackout left off, we rejoin Soap, Price, and Nikolai just before the helicopter they are in is shot down by a Stinger missile. While recovering from the crash, an enemy helicopter shows up searching for any survivors of the crash, eventually spotting our team. Upon reaching a small barn, Soap is able to acquire a Stinger missile rocket launcher and take down the enemy helicopter. We then get a radio call saying that a friendly AC-130 has arrived. Now in the seat of an AC-130, the player rains down fire on enemy forces at different locations, defending Soap and the squad as they attempt another evacuation. The team is able to reach a junkyard and finally evacuate. Not much else to say about this mission, to be honest. It is a classic though. Picking up back in the bog, the tank Warpig has been repaired and the squad is now under attack. After defending their position, the Marines make their way through streets in enemy territory, taking out all opposition along the way. Sergeant Jackson and Vasquez now make their way to al-Assad. Sergeant Jackson, now in the gunner seat, flies toward al-Assad's new belief position. After taking out enemy ground forces, we are dropped off and tasked with reaching and extracting a recon team. As soon as we return to the helicopter, the team gets word that SEAL Team 6 has discovered a possible nuclear weapon. After taking off, we watch as a friendly attack chopper, Deadly, is shot down, prompting us to land and attempt a quick rescue of the pilot. After saving the pilot and returning to the helicopter, the team begins quickly flying out of the area, but it's too late as we watch the nuke detonate from the back of the helicopter before the chopper goes down and we hit the ground. Looking through the eyes of Sergeant Jackson, immediately after the nuclear detonation and helicopter crash, we awaken to see the destruction caused by the explosion. Rejoining Captain Price and his squad, we arrive in Azerbaijan, now searching for Al-Assad in a safe house he has used in the past. The team searches through multiple buildings backed up by Russian loyalists and helicopter. Running into ultra-nationalists along the way, they eventually find and capture Al-Assad, before Price ties him to a chair for interrogation. Price continues to use persuasion techniques on Al-Assad for info on the nuclear bomb. After receiving a call, Price pulls out a pistol and shoots Al-Assad without saying a word.
Who was that, sir?
Zakhaev. Imran Zakhaev.
All Gillied Up takes us back 15 years to 1996 and takes place in the infamous Chernobyl. The mission is experienced through the eyes of Captain Price when he was still just a lieutenant at the time. Captain Macmillan guides the younger Price as they sneak past many enemy troops as they make their way to a vantage point to assassinate Zakhaev. After reaching the vantage point, Price and Macmillan set up a 50 cal sniper rifle and wait patiently for 3 days. Zakhaev finally arrives prepared to sell uranium fuel rods to a group of ultranationalists. Price takes his time taking note of wind speed and direction before taking the shot, ultimately only removing Zakhaev's arm. With their location now revealed, an enemy helicopter shows up before the pilot is sniped by Price. Another helicopter arrives and begins firing at Price and Macmillan, who are barely able to escape before the tower collapses. Making their way to the extraction point, the duo fight off many enemy forces before taking down the helicopter that has been pursuing them. The helicopter begins to crash, heading straight for the two, and Macmillan is narrowly able to avoid being sliced in half by the helicopter blade, but he still suffers a leg injury. Price, now carrying Macmillan on his shoulders, continues to fight off enemies before reaching an amusement park where he puts Macmillan down under a Ferris wheel, and he begins to set up defenses, preparing for the waves of enemies pursuing them. The team is able to defend their position until an evac chopper arrives. Back in the present day, Captain Price, Soap, and the rest of the team now have to evacuate after assassinating Al-Assad. After fighting their way to the evac site, the pilot radios in saying that the LZ is too hot and that the team only has a few minutes to reach a new landing zone at the bottom of the hill. Soap and his squad are successfully able to reach the new evacuation site and leave the area with Sergeant Griggs.
You guys need to ride out of here.
Still in control of Soap, joined by SAS, Russian loyalists, and a few Marines, the objective is to capture Zakhaev's son in hopes that he will give up his father's location. Sneaking to a checkpoint, the teams are able to eliminate enemies and use their clothes as a disguise. A couple hours later, Victor, Zakhaev's son, arrives in a convoy. Our squads open fire to capture Victor, who manages to escape. In pursuit of Victor, Soap and Griggs fight through enemies in a small town before cornering him on a rooftop. When Soap attempts to restrain him, Victor puts a gun against his own head and pulls the trigger, leaving us with no more leads on Zakhaev. After his son's death, Zakhaev is threatened to launch nuclear strikes. On the clock, Captain Price and his team parachute near the facility housing the nukes that Zakhaev plans on launching, but they notice Griggs is missing. After fighting through a small village, the team finds and frees Griggs. Now that everyone is regrouped, we make our way to the nuclear facility after taking down an electric tower and disabling power long enough so that another team can infiltrate the facility. As we push forward, we watch as 2 nukes are launched into the sky aimed at the United States. The pressure is on now that 2 missiles have been launched. Waiting for Russian loyalists to provide mission abort codes, the SAS and Marines fight their way into the facility, where they cut through vents so that they can rappel down into the underground sections of the tunnel. Continuing the mission, we are now on the underground parts of the nuclear facility and must fight our way through enemy resistances until we reach the main control room. Soap and Price come to one of the outer walls of the control room, where they breach through and take out the remaining enemies on the other side, before entering the abort codes and preventing the nuclear strike missiles from reaching their destination. We then witness Zakhaev escaping in a helicopter. Final mission opens with Captain Price and his team in a jeep escaping from the nuclear facility while they are being chased by enemy forces. After taking out several enemy vehicles, an attack helicopter is now chasing our team, speeding down a highway full of civilian cars. The helicopter soon destroys a bridge just before we drive over it, causing us to wreck. Playing as Soap, we regain consciousness, being pulled from the wreckage and into cover by Griggs, who we watch get shot down by enemies. Soap, still disoriented, sees Zakhaev walking towards him, and we can only watch as Gaz is executed. Before Zakhaev is able to do the same to Soap, he is distracted by a friendly Russian attack helicopter, which buys us enough time for Captain Price to slide an M1911 to Soap, who is able to fire a bullet into the back of Zakhaev's head, ending the main campaign of the first Modern Warfare. first mission of the second game starts off by putting you in the boots of Private Joseph Allen. Following Sergeant Foley's instructions, we assist in training local Afghan soldiers, serving as the tutorial mission for the game. After running through the basics, we are summoned to the pit because General Shepard wants to see our skills. Upon finishing the course, we are told to regroup with Foley and the rest of his squad, but on the way, the base's alarm goes off and we're ready for battle.
Everyone get to your vehicles. We're moving out.
Continuing as Private Allen, our Humvee is destroyed by an enemy RPG and Shepard picks us up off the ground, throwing us into the battle, stating, "Rangers lead the way."
Rangers lead the way. Move!
We defend our position until a tank arrives on the overpass above us to lay a bridge, so that the Rangers can proceed into the city. Before crossing the bridge, the squad sit back in anticipation as an airstrike is called in to level a nearby building, one saying, "Since when does Shepard care about danger close?"
Hey, isn't this danger close for the task force?
Come on, since when does Shepard care about danger close?
That's what I'm talking about.
After the airstrike is completed, we push forward into the city, watching out for enemies and civilians. After driving around a few streets, the Humvees begin to be fired at. We return fire as we try to speed away, making a right in front of a school that is full of enemies. The Humvee is then hit with a rocket from an RPG, and we're forced to evacuate the vehicle and fight our way through the school, where we eventually rendezvous with General Shepard, who says he will be the one giving us orders from now on.
And you'll be taking orders from me from now on. I'll brief you on the chopper. Let's go.
Cliffhanger introduces the player to yet another new character by putting us in the shoes of Sergeant Gary Roach Sanderson, who is accompanied by Soap, who is now known as Captain McTavish. Climbing along a cliff's edge, we then use our ice axes to climb to higher ground, making our way to the enemy base. Soap and Roach are faced with a leap of faith to an ice wall at the other side of a large gap. Soap goes first and makes the jump with no issue. The player's jump doesn't go so smoothly, as we initially fail to dig into the cliffside with our axes, just getting one to catch before we fall to our deaths. Soap slides down to offer a helping hand so that we can continue climbing. Upon reaching the cliff top, we take out our ACR, which is equipped with a heartbeat sensor, and begin looking out for enemy forces. After taking out a few patrols, Soap takes up an overwatch position so that we can push through the base, plant C4 on a fuel depot as a backup plan if things go awry. Heading towards the hangar, we regroup with Soap and go inside, where Soap takes out the single guard inside, and we head upstairs to retrieve the ACS module. Returning to the main hangar, we see Soap being held at gunpoint, and he tells us it's time for Plan B. We detonate the C4 planted earlier, distracting the enemies, buying us enough time to take them out, and we fight our way out of the base. The duo then acquires a pair of snowmobiles, which we drive as fast as possible while defending against enemies, including a helicopter. We finally reach a steep hillside and speed up as much as possible to make the major jump at the bottom to escape.
Head the chopper. Let's go. Bravo 6, we have you on visual. Get your ass on board. We're running the mutiny here.
С нами Бог. Remember, no Russian.
When we first open our eyes in the mission, so does the doors of the elevator we are in. We play as Joseph Allen, the guy from the first two missions, as he is undercover to spy on Vladimir Makarov. We slowly walk out into the airport and begin to open fire on airport security and civilians. While walking through the airport, we watch as many injured civilians attempt to claw their way to safety and others hold on to loved ones as we continue to mercifully gun them down. After making our way outside, FSB teams are sent with riot shields to stop the mass shooting, but they are unable to match Makarov's team. Upon making it to the getaway vehicle, Makarov takes our hand, seemingly to assist us, only to shoot and kill Allen. He now leaves the body to be found by the Russian government, who believe the United States played a role in this attack.
Americans thought he could deceive us. When they find that body, all of Russia will cry for war.
Shepard orders Task Force 141 to head to Brazil to capture the man who supplied weapons to Makarov for the airport massacre, Alejandro Rojas. Telling some local militia, the team watches Rojas' assistant shoot the two men they were following before firing at the vehicle they're in, hitting and killing the driver. Now on foot, Roach, Soap, and Ghost chase the assistant into an alleyway where Roach shoots him in the leg, stopping him from running. Soap and Ghost stay back to interrogate the assistants while sending Roach, Royce, and Meat to look for Rojas in the favela. After firing a warning shot so that civilians will run, local militia start to attack our team. Meat and Royce are killed in all the fighting, leaving Roach to continue on his own. After discovering Rojas' location, Soap and Ghost head to capture him as Rose fights his way to regroup with them. Roach joins the chase and along with Ghost cuts off routes Rojas might take while Soap tackles him off a roof onto a car. Following the events of the airport massacre and the mission No Russian, Russia declares war and launches an invasion on the United States. Now in the boots of Ranger James Ramirez, the mission kicks off with us riding in a Humvee down the streets of a suburb in Northern Virginia. The convoy is attacked, forcing our squad to run through backyards, hiding from the BTR in the streets. After reaching the end of the street, the Rangers use smoke as cover to escape the BTR. The rest of the mission consists of defending restaurants and using enemy Predator missiles to even the odds. Back in Brazil, after using enhanced interrogation techniques, Rojas tells Soap that the man Makarov hates most is locked up in the Gulag. Still under attack by local militia, the task force now has to escape the favela by reaching Nikolai, who is piloting a helicopter. Fighting their way across rooftops, they make a jump that Roach comes up short on.
Roach! Wake up! Roach, we can see them from the chopper. They're coming for you, dozens of them! Roach, there's too many of them! Get the hell out of there and find your way to the rooftops!
A disoriented Roach then quickly makes his way through the favela streets filled with militia and manages to make it back onto the rooftop. He then makes a daring jump to grab a ladder hanging from the helicopter before the team escapes. Back in control of James Ramirez, we are tasked to eliminate anti-aircraft forces so that civilians can evacuate. Backed up by a striker vehicle, we fight through many Russian troops before reaching and destroying the anti-aircraft batteries. After the completion of the primary objective, the team is tasked with retrieving a VIP in a nearby neighborhood. They reach a house that a vehicle has already crashed into and proceed through the house to find that the VIP is already dead. They grab a briefcase that the VIP was holding onto to prepare to leave. After leaving the favela, Soap and crew are now infiltrating an oil rig to free a number of hostages. They breach and clear a number of rooms securing the hostages before making their way to the helipad where they prepare to attack the Gulag.
OD teams are cleared for landing. Roger, brother. Sure, Hunter. Take 2 copies all.
Now headed to the Gulag and joined by Navy SEALs, they set out to free prisoner 627. Arriving at the Gulag, we snipe enemy forces who are preparing SAM launchers. The Navy is impatient and nearly causes Roach's aircraft to wreck.
Hang on. Shepard, get those players to ceasefire immediately. That was too close.
Shepard is able to get the Navy to cease fire for a short while so that our team can land and infiltrate the Gulag. Fighting our way through the Gulag, we eventually reach the control room where Ghost is able to take control of the prison systems. Using riot shields, Roach and Soap push through the defenses, making their way to their objective. Rappelling down to the bottom level, the team fights their way through hallways while the Navy begins firing again, causing Roach to become disoriented. Shepard is able to get the Navy to cease fire yet again. We then breach a wall into some showers and lockers before making it to a wall where Ghost notes that there is 2 heat signatures on the other side, one of which is the prisoner we are attempting to capture. Upon breaching the wall, the prisoner is overtaking the guard and is able to punch Roach, the player, in the face before aiming an AK-47 at him.
Drop it!
Soap?
Place? This belongs to you, sir.
Who's Soap?
While escaping, the Navy begins to fire again and cuts off multiple escape routes for the team. We reach a dead end in a cafeteria. Debris falls on the Roach as Soap fires a flare into the hole in the roof. Price helps Roach back to his feet as the team attaches to a rappel line and are pulled out by the helicopter seconds before the place collapses.
Hang on!
Back on U.S. soil, the Rangers are assisting in civilian evacuation efforts in Washington, D.C. Exiting the bunker, we follow Sergeant Foley through the trenches as we make our way to the Department of Commerce to take out a nest of enemies on the 5th floor before providing cover for the evacuation. The team is attacked by foot soldiers and must defend their position. After taking down a couple of waves, we then begin to take down enemy vehicles using javelin missiles. We then retreat to the rooftop and get to the gunner seat of a helicopter and fly around taking down Russian forces. Our plane is shot down and we awaken to witness Sergeant Foley and soldiers defending our position from increasingly large amounts of enemies. An enemy attack helicopter spots us, shining its spotlight onto our position. The screen turns white and the mission ends. After being freed from the Gulag, Price has a plan to end the war. Sneaking past multiple patrols, we infiltrate a naval base in an attempt to secure a submarine that is docked there. Fighting breaks out and the team races to the submarine. Price makes his way to the submarine while the rest of the squad defend their position. The submarine's silo doors begin to open and Ghost warns Price that he is running out of time. The missiles launch and we come to learn that this was Price's plan all along. EMPs fly into the atmosphere where they disable electronics across the entire eastern United States, also destroying the International Space Station.
This is ISS control.
Picking up where of their own accord left off, the attack helicopter that was about to assault our position falls out of the sky along with many other choppers. Regrouping, the Rangers conclude that it must have been an EMP. While traversing the streets, the squad notices how destroyed the city is and that the red dots are not working anymore. A soldier runs up to the squad and lets them know that a strike team is at Whiskey Hotel and to go there before he runs out to gather more US soldiers. Pushing forward, our team fights through a few buildings before reaching the Eisenhower building, finding the president's bunker, and discovering that it's already been ransacked. A continuation of the previous mission, leaving the bunker, the team enters the White House lawn where they meet Colonel Marshall, who explains to them that the White House still has power despite the EMP blast. They then attempt to make contact with Central Command. Heading to the West Wing, we find out that the Hammer Down Protocol is in effect and that the Capitol is believed to have been taken by the enemy. Fighting our way to the roof, we hurry to set off green flares to prevent incoming airstrikes on the city from command. At the same time, we see many other green flares signifying that the city has already been retaken by US forces.
Countersign detected at Whiskey Hotel. Aboard. We got a countersign. Aborting weapons release. Rolling out.
So, when we going to Moscow?
Not soon enough, man. But I know we're gonna burn it down when we get there.
When the time's right, Corporal. When the time's right.
With Makarov at one of two locations, Shepard splits Task Force 141, sending them to the separate locations. Soap and Price head to a boneyard in Afghanistan, and we as Roach join Ghost and a few others going to the Georgian-Russian border to infiltrate a safe house. Surviving an ambush, the team pushes to take the safe house. Unable to find Makarov, they do find his computer and begin to download the information stored on it. While the download progresses, resistance shows up and we are forced to defend our position inside the house. Once the download is complete, we must fight our way downhill to the extraction point with the support of a Little Bird gunship. Nearing the extraction point, Roach and a few fellow squad members are hit with a mortar, injuring Roach and killing the others. Ghost proceeds to carry Roach to the extraction point where Shepard steps out to meet them.
The DSM! We've got it, sir! Good. That's one less loose end.
After confirming that the task force secured the data, Shepard shoots Roach and Ghost, betraying Task Force 141.
Sanitized. All targets destroyed. Solid copy. No movement detected. 2-6 going into holding pattern.
Now in the boots of Sup at the Afghanistan boneyard, he and Price realize that Shepard has betrayed them. They must now find their way out of the boneyard while Shepard and Makarov's men fight each other. Price manages to tap into Makarov's radio channels and lets him know that Shepard is now a war hero with a blank check and will be coming after him. Price offers to eliminate Shepard for Makarov if he will give up Shepard's location, which Makarov reluctantly does. With heat picking up, Nikolai says that he is unable to stick around much longer and threatens to leave. Soap rushes to regroup with Price and fellow Task Force 141 member Rook. Fighting off enemies on the way to Nikolai, Rook, who is driving, takes a shot to the head when reaching the runway, forcing Soap to take the wheel from the passenger seat, steering the Jeep into the cargo bay of Nikolai's plane as he is preparing to take off. Now at Shepard's base of operation in Afghanistan, Soap and Price prepare to find and eliminate the general. Nikolai lets him know that he'll be ready to pick the duo up in 3 hours, to which Price responds that it's a one-way trip. Rappelling down a cliffside, we silently take out 2 members of Shadow Company, Shepard's crew, before heading into a cave. We are discovered and must fight a wave of enemies coming our way, grabbing a riot shield for cover as we proceed along the catway, learning that Shepard is being evacuated. When breaching a door, we clear the room, and Shepard notifies his men that he is going to blow the cave up to kill Soap and Price. The duo manages to escape, but a desperate Shepard calls in an artillery strike to take them out, killing many of his own men in the process. Price comments that Shepard has never cared about danger close. Soap and Price then fight off reinforcements sent to take them out, ending the mission. After fending off the reinforcements, Soap and Price make their way into a cave and board a speedboat in pursuit of Shepard. Driving down a lake while fighting and avoiding enemies, Price is eventually able to line up a shot to Shepard's helicopter and asks Soap to keep the boat steady. Price takes the shot with a grenade launcher and is able to ground the chopper, but it's too late. The duo have reached a waterfall and are unable to turn the speedboat around and go over the edge, both jumping out in hopes of surviving the fall. After waking up on a nearby shore, a concussed Soap makes his way toward the crash site of Shepard's chopper. Passing the first pilot, he is slowly crawling while bleeding out. Then we walk past a second pilot who pulls out a pistol, which is thankfully empty. Shepard runs out of the crash into a sandstorm and tries to get away from Soap. Catching up to him, we find Shepard resting on an abandoned car. When going in for the finish with a knife, Soap is overpowered and stabbed by his own knife, getting knocked to the ground. Shepard gives a speech as he loads his revolver and points it at Soap's head. Just as he pulls the trigger, Price comes in and starts to fight Shepard. We watch as Shepard starts to win the fight against Price. While bleeding out, Soap looks down at the knife in his stomach, pulling it out, spinning it around, and throwing it straight into Shepard's eye, killing the mad general. Price gets to his feet and rushes to check on Soap. At the same time, Nikolai is landing his little bird to pick the two up, despite Price saying this was a one-way trip. They load Soap onto the chopper and quickly evacuate, heading to a compound where they hope to save Soap's life.
It'll hold for now. Come on, get up. I thought I told you this was a one-way trip.
Looks like it still is. They'll be looking for us, you know.
Nikolai, we've got to get Soap out of here.
Nah, I know a place.
So yeah guys, that was Modern Warfare 2. If you made it this far and enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. I have basically no viewers and no subscribers right now, so it would help out a lot. And yeah, Modern Warfare 3 soon, more content on the way. Immediately after the conclusion of Modern Warfare 2, Price and Nikolai unload the injured Soap from the helicopter they used to evacuate. Rushing into the safe house, they attempt to stop the bleeding and save Soap's life. Soap blacks out and they begin to resuscitate him. The title card flashes and the mission ends. Black Tuesday. Taking on the perspective of Sergeant Derek Frost Westbrook, we join Sandman climbing out of a wrecked Humvee in New York. As we open the door and emerge from the wreckage, we witness missiles hit the side of a building, causing rubble to fall to the streets below. Joining a nearby battalion, we fight off Russian forces and make our way through buildings to avoid roadblocks. Arriving at the stock exchange, we take on more enemy forces so that we can make it to the roof of the building and destroy a radio jammer. After defending the position for a few minutes, a helicopter shows up to pick the team up. Frost takes the gunner seat and brings down multiple enemy choppers. the last one of which causes our helicopter to lose control and nearly throws us out before the pilot is able to regain control.
Look out! We're hit! We're hit! Hang on!
Hunter Killer. Frost and Sandman are joined by the rest of Metal Team as they swim through a submerged Brooklyn tunnel heading toward the New York harbor. We meet up with another squad and continue forward, navigating around underwater mines. Once reaching the Russian submarine, we plant explosives on the side and detonate them, causing the vessel to surface. We then board and clear the interior of the sub before reaching the bridge, where we launch Russian missiles onto their own forces. We make our escape by boarding speedboats, sailing and defending ourselves until we reach a helicopter and evacuate. Persona non grata. Through the eyes of Yuri, we move in to assist Soap. Just as we make it to the medical table, Makarov's men begin an assault on the safe house. With the doctor now dead, Yuri and Price fight their way to and through the courtyard as Nikolai carries Soap out. Facing great opposition, Nikolai mentions a nearby unmanned ground vehicle that Yuri eventually takes control of and escorts Price, Nikolai, and Soap to an escape helicopter. Leaving the controls of the ground drone, Yuri rushes to the chopper before an enemy Heinz fire destroys the ground below him, causing him to slide down a hill and fall into a river. Yuri is eventually able to reach the shore as the rest of the team lands and saves him. Turbulence. Taking control of a bodyguard for the Russian president aboard his personal plane, we escort the president into a meeting room in which he speaks about wanting peace with the United States. We hear gunfire in the plane and fellow agents begin to cover the president. The plane stalls out and we begin fighting in an on and off gravity type of environment. After clearing out many hostiles, we make it to the cargo bay to rescue the president's daughter. While moving the daughter to the safe room, the plane makes an emergency landing, ripping the plane in two. An engine breaks away from the plane and eventually hits the part of the plane we are in, causing us to black out. Waking up, we are being dragged out of the helicopter wreckage by a fellow agent. We get on our feet and begin searching for the president. Taking down enemies, we find the president and begin to escort him to a nearby helicopter to escape. Opening the door to the chopper reveals that Makarov is the one behind all of this. He shoots us and the remaining friendly agents before questioning the president about the Russian nuclear launch codes. The president resists Makarov's demands, causing Makarov to order his men to find and capture the president's daughter.
Every man has his weakness. Find the girl.
Back on the grid. Back in the boots of Yuri, we join Captain Price and a recovered Soap in Africa to search for cargo belonging to Makarov. We make our way to a nearby village where Makarov has factories, all while eliminating and avoiding militia patrols. Price and Soap move into the factory while we provide overwatch from a tower. Inside the factory, Price and Soap are discovered. We rush to their location to provide support. The team of 3 now fights their way through many militiamen before Yuri falls through the roof of a small hut. We quickly take out the enemy attempting to melee us and regroup with Price and Soap. Reaching the position that the mortars are being fired from, we take control and use mortars to take out the militia. Pushing forward, we reach another factory and take out the enemies inside before making our way outside, where we are ambushed and forced to eliminate more militia. Moving through the ruins of a house, we spot the cargo and must rush before the transport helicopter is able to leave. After fighting our way through a church, Yuri kicks down a door and is bitten by a hyena as he fires at the guards of the helicopter. Despite his efforts, the helicopter is able to make an escape. Mind the Gap. Now at a warehouse in Canary Wharf, SAS moves in to stop terrorists from loading unknown cargo onto trucks. Fighting through and securing the warehouse, we open the doors of a truck to discover the package is already left. After some more fighting, the remaining terrorists are able to escape to a nearby train tunnel where we chase them and dodge trains along the way until the truck we are in flips. Waking to see the wreckage of the train, we now make our way to Westminster Station where we must fight off more enemies before making it to street level. Local police and SAS put up roadblocks and stops one of the terrorist trucks by flipping it. This truck also turns out to be empty. In a panic, Walcott attempts to locate the other trucks, but gets no answer. Davis family vacation. Viewed through the lens of a camera that a father is using to record his wife and excited daughter on their vacation, about to visit Big Ben, a box truck stops on the corner where the daughter is playing with a flock of birds. The driver jumps out and runs away shortly before the truck explodes, killing the civilian family and releasing gas onto the streets of London.
You know she gets that from you.
Goalpost. Back with Delta Force and in control of Frost, we are dropped off on the beach in Hamburg with the objective of locating and rescuing the Vice President. We begin assaulting Russian forces as we make our way through the streets, joining a tank squad. Right as they lose their gunner, Frost takes the seat and guns down multiple enemies as we move through a parking garage. Heading up a ramp, the ground collapses below the weight of the tank, causing us to fall a few stories to the ground level where Frost ducks into the tank to avoid being crushed by a falling car. Exiting the tank and continuing on foot, we progress toward the Vice President's location, defending against enemies along the way. Reaching the inside of a destroyed building, we find the remains of the VP's convoy. Noticing a blood trail, the team head upstairs and breach a room, eliminating hostiles and saving the Vice President before evacuating the area. Return to Sender. Starting in the backseat of a Jeep, we're Yuri again, joining Price and Soap on the hunt for African warlord Warabe as a massive sandstorm approaches. Crashing through a gate, we begin to assault a harbor where we're able to pull out a tablet to access the remote turret on Nikolai's chopper. Fighting through the compound and reaching Warabe's office, we breach and clear the room, leaving the warlord the only one alive. The team puts on gas masks as Price sets off a canister of the same gas used in the attack on London, before questioning Warabe about the whereabouts of Makarov in exchange for a gas mask. Panicking, Warabe says that he never met Makarov, but instead gives the name of a middleman, Volk, saying that he can be found in Paris. Price tosses a gas mask to Warabe, only to then execute him for the lives lost due to the chemicals. Regrouping with the rest of the team, Nikolai warns of the rapidly approaching sandstorm. Rushing to the exfil point, we are ambushed by militia and must now head to the secondary point. Just as he is preparing to land, Nikolai's chopper is shot down and the team rushes to grab him to make an emergency evacuation. Fighting through the sandstorm, we make it to Nikolai's crash bird and carry him to the jeeps at the extraction point. Bag and drag. Landing on a rooftop in the still gas-ridden streets of Paris, Frost, Grinch, and Sandman make their way through destroyed houses and navigate across rooftops, seeing deceased civilians along the way. We eventually reach the streets where we engage Russian forces before running into a French squad in the back of a restaurant. The fighting continues through the streets and we are offered support from an AC-130 before finally reaching a manhole that leads to the Paris catacombs. Heading underground, we navigate around thousands of skulls and bones on the walls before taking out a Russian and getting flashbanged. Once able to see again, we see Volk running. We clear the room and take out a number of enemies in pursuit of Volk. After climbing a ladder and reaching the streets above, we see Volk driving off. Hopping into the passenger seat of a van, firefights continue during a car chase before we move to the back of the van where we take out a large number of enemy infantry including tanks and choppers before we are able to neutralize and capture Volk. Iron Lady. Waiting for extraction with Volk still in captivity, a friendly Osprey is shot down before hitting the ground, forcing the team to avoid debris. Now needing to make it to a secondary extraction site, we take control of an AC-130 and begin to cover the squad as they make their way through the streets. After decimating many enemy forces and vehicles, we're put back in control of Frost as the AC-130 is under attack. We then fight to clear a hotel and courtyard. After clearing the courtyard and marking an enemy tank for an airstrike, we're put back in the seat of the AC-130 where we cover the team as they get into Humvees and proceed to the extraction point. After reaching a bridge in front of the Eiffel Tower, we get put back in the boots of Frost and tasked with eliminating tanks with a javelin. After an extremely close bombing run, the Eiffel Tower collapses as choppers arrive to extract our team. Eye of the Storm. Now back with Yuri, Captain Price, and Soap, we sneak past enemies by swimming through parts of sewers in Prague. Price separates from the other two, and Yuri and Soap take out a small patrol consisting of 2 snipers and a dog and a handler. Unable to hide the bodies, Yuri and Soap quickly and quietly sneak through the side buildings before reaching a large group of enemies that are preparing to unload a BTR from a transport helicopter. We open fire as the transport helicopter is hit by an RPG, causing it to drop the BTR. Now joined by many resistance members, we take out many enemies before being forced to jump through a window into an art gallery. Making our way through the building, we fight more enemies going through the streets before making it to a church to prepare for the assassination of Makarov. Blood Brothers. Starting off at the top of the church, Yuri and Soap are ready to take out Makarov. Price rappels down the building to the room where Makarov will be. After entering the building, an elevator reaches the floor Price is at. Inside is Kamarov, strapped to a chair with C4. Makarov tells Price, "Hell awaits you," and detonates the C4 before saying, "Yuri, my friend, you never should have come here," blowing the explosives he planted in the church.
Get out now!
Looking over, we notice Soap covered by debris and bleeding severely. Price arrives to help the duo. Price blows a hole into a wall so that the team can escape through it. After setting Soap down, Price begins to carry him, and we cover the two, rushing to a building held by resistance members. When making it to the building, Soap is placed on the table. Yuri and Price desperately attempt to stop the bleeding. Soap then sits up and uses his last breaths to tell Price that Makarov knows Yuri. A dejected Price places an M1911 on Soap's chest, telling his friend, "I'm sorry." Hostiles begin to move into the building, and Yuri and Price move to escape underground. Price tells Yuri to open a door. Immediately after doing so, Price punches him in the face, knocking him down the stairs. Now holding Yuri at gunpoint, Price demands to know how Makarov knows him. Throughout a flashback, Yuri explains that he and Makarov were there the day Price shot off Zakhaev's arm in Chernobyl. He admits to being with Makarov the day he detonated the nuclear bomb during the first game. He also revealed that he attempted to prevent Makarov from carrying out the airport massacre in the mission No Russian before Makarov shot him and left him for dead. Yuri awakens and crawls to the airport in a futile attempt to kill Makarov.
Okay, Yuri. You bought yourself some time. For now.
Stronghold. The mission starts with us parachuting near a castle where Makarov holds a weapon cache. After eliminating a couple enemies on patrol, we continue into the castle, sneaking under trucks and platforms, planting C4 along the way to mask our later escape. Progressing into the castle, we enter and clear a guard room, where Price uses the dead guard's fingerprints to gain access to the dungeon below. Using night vision, we make our way throughout the dungeons, taking out enemies. Before we reach and cross scaffolding under a bridge, planting more C4 later to take out the bridge. Once reaching the other side, we use the sound of thunder to mask the sound of us breaching a wall, the side of which is a narrow passage with wires leading to the main control room. Climbing up support beams, Yuri and Price reach a vent where they eavesdrop on a conversation between Alexei and Makarov, learning that the Russian president is still being interrogated for the launch codes, and that Makarov's men are moving in to capture the president's daughter. Alexei is alerted of a breach inside the castle, so Price tosses a grenade through the vent as he and Yuri drops down the supports before making their escape. Reaching a ledge overlooking the bridge from earlier, we detonate the C4, taking out a number of enemies. Proceeding and fighting through the courtyard, the duo get into a jeep and quickly exit the castle, all while being fired at. Eventually the jeep takes too much damage and Price drives it off a cliff where we must deploy our emergency spare chutes to escape. Scorched Earth. Waking up on his back, Frost looks up and sees Sandman running over to him. We walk past injured soldiers toward a collapsed building. Flashing back to 20 minutes prior, we're on board a little bird heading into Berlin to save the Russian president's daughter. After landing on a rooftop, we fought our way through offices. Later reaching a different rooftop, we provide sniper support so that friendlies can land. Tanks roll up in the streets below, and we call in a strafe run to take them out. Continuing the sniper support, we watch as the other squad rappel down to breach a door. The team leaves our sights as they enter the building, and we see an explosion through the door that they had just entered, which takes the team down. Now taking on the responsibility of saving the daughter, we rappel to the streets below, where we end up supporting a German tank squad. Reaching the end of a street, a building explodes, falling onto the two teams' heads. Back to where we were before the flashback, we follow Sandman attempting to find a way out of the collapsed building, making it to a hotel where the daughter is being held. We begin to breach the door before it explodes on us, knocking us to the floor, where we manage to eliminate the two soldiers. Recovering, we hurry into the room where we see the daughter being taken away on a helicopter.
We can't risk it. Overlord, negative precious cargo. We lost her.
Down the rabbit hole. Starting off descending in an elevator, Yuri with Task Force 141 and Delta Force reach a tunnel and take out a patrol before the elevator is hit with a rocket, causing it to plummet to the bottom level of the mines and kill McCoy. After exiting the elevator, the teams come across two paths and split up before eventually reaching a large room where we eliminate many more enemies before breaching and clearing a room. Going through the door, we clear more of the mines before reaching the third level and making it back outside. Using a Predator drone, we take out Russian forces and continue pushing forward. The Predator drone is destroyed, so we call in an airstrike to blow our way back into the mines. Breaching a door, we find the President's daughter, who tells us they took her dad deeper into the mines. Fighting past hostiles, we eventually repair down to the bottom level of the mine and see the President being taken into a bunker. Seeing that the bunker doors are too thick to breach, Captain Price has the idea to enter from above as we blow a hole into the roof of the bunker, clearing the room and securing the President. As we're evacuating with the President, taking him back to a Black Hawk, an overwhelming amount of enemies assault us, shooting a little bird down, hitting Yuri. Truck drags us toward the chopper before returning to the squad to help fend off the enemies. Running out of time, Sandman tells Price to get to the helicopter. Price tells him that we're in this together and he's not going to be left behind. Price hands us his M4 and drags us the rest of the way to the chopper. Sandman and his team defends us as we load onto the chopper. We watch as the squad is overwhelmed and must take off without them. Dust to dust. For the first time since attempting to assassinate Zakhaev in Chernobyl, we open our eyes as Captain Price, as he and Yuri are fully suited up in Juggernaut suits, preparing to assault Hotel Oasis. Hopping out of the back of the van, we head towards the lobby, gunning down Makarov's men along the way, as Nikolai breaches the hotel security. Reaching an elevator, the duo fends off a chopper that is firing at them, causing it to crash into the elevator and making it start to drop, shredding our Juggernaut suits in the process. After jumping to the next elevator, we head to the 27th floor, and Nikolai warns that we must hurry to catch Makarov. Fighting through enemies, we go through a penthouse, diner, and past a small stage. A chopper shows up firing at us, causing the floor to collapse, and injuring Yuri as a piece of metal sticks through his stomach. With no time to spare, Price gets up and rushes to catch Makarov. Reaching the roof, we see Makarov's helicopter taking off and run to jump off the edge of the building, barely grabbing the helicopter's landing gear. Price climbs up and takes out the two pilots, the second of which accidentally shoots the controls, forcing Price to crash land the chopper back onto the roof. Waking up looking through a cracking glass ceiling, we turn and see Makarov exiting the chopper. We crawl towards a pistol in between us, but Makarov is the one that's able to grab it. As Makarov aims at Price's head, Yuri comes out of nowhere and fires multiple shots into Makarov, before Makarov is able to kill him first. Taking advantage of the distraction, Price takes Makarov to the ground, punching him in the face a few times before wrapping the rappel line from the helicopter around his neck, hooking it to create a makeshift noose. Price lifts Makarov up, slamming him through the glass ceiling, both falling through. Makarov is hung by the line, while Price survives the fall. Captain Price lights up his cigar and watches as his biggest enemy swings. So yeah, that was Modern Warfare 3 and the conclusion of the Modern Warfare Trilogy, the original one, not the remakes. If you enjoyed it, made it this far, please like, subscribe, maybe leave a comment, start a discussion. What's your favorite Call of Duty campaign? I plan on covering the rest of them as much as I can anyways in the coming weeks. And yeah, signing out.